If you were tasked to redesign the human body, what would you change? A more durable spine is what I'd like. My spine surgeon was looking at my MRI inside. The spine is very badly designed. I lolled. Really? I think the spine is pretty amazingly designed for what it does. In terms of artificial design, it's the equivalent of a protective column for critical wiring structure spinal cord that need to exit every few centimeters in multiple directions, anterior and posterior routes, yet still be articulated to an amazing degree. Just ask anyone with a spinal fusion how much ability they lose. The problem is that we decided to be stupid and go all bipedal and put stress in areas that were not designed for it. Unfortunately, we've evolved faster than our spine could adapt. Gills that work alongside lungs. Also the ability to withstand high amounts of barometric pressure. Atlantis. Here I come. The urge to sneeze would always result in a sneeze. Some of us have this superpower. Feel the urge to sneeze. Just look at the sun or a bright light. Link. The ability to regenerate. Lose a hand, eat your Vegas, and you'll have a new one in a couple of days. Seriously. Debilitating injuries such as your vertebrae being absolutely obliterated would no longer be a problem unless you had some sort of genetic abnormality that turned off your superpower. Edit. I learned that decimate didn't mean what I thought it meant. Changed it to something a bit more appropriate. Edit 2. So apparently we already have this gene, but evolution decided we weren't supposed to be that awesome. Some sort of genetic abnormality that turned off your superpower. I think that's the general consensus as to why we can't regenerate now. Something about protecting against arbitrary explosions of cell growth we refer to as cancer. Duck it though. Regeneration would be awesome. Would you spend the last 50 years of your life unable to masturbate due to an unfortunate smelting accident involving your hands? Or would you rather potentially get cancer and die 10 years early? It's not even debatable. To the masturbatorium. From a Scientific American article link a while ago that actually does a breakdown of flaws and how to improve them to let humans last longer. But what I would really want is to require less sleep, leaving all sorts of extra time for activities. Definitely an interesting read, but their fixed design seems to have lost many of the characteristics that have made us successful as a species. Shorter stature and forward posture. There are many hypotheses for why we have the height we do, but some of the prominent theories are foreseeing longer distances, longer strides, and increased advantage in fights. All of those advantages would be lost. Thicker bones drastically decrease our running abilities. As endurance runners, we would lose this advantage as well. Thicker discs in the spine. Now I'm not sure about this, but I feel like it would increase risk of a slip disc. No. Raised trachea would make it so we could no longer suckle. Goodbye breastfeeding. Urethra running outside of the prostate seems like it would negate the purpose of the prostate. This would also lead to a risk in the prostate becoming detached due to the swelling and contracting of the urethra. While some of the ideas seem good on paper, I think it's pretty clear that evolution has done a pretty damn good job with us. Also, less sleep would be nice. Make cheeks impossible to bite while chewing. Lips and tongue too. I'd want the clear eyelids crocodiles have so they can open their eyes underwater. I was on the swim team and goggles are the worst. Edit. It's not that I can't use goggles, but they hurt my eyes after a while and leave really weird tan lines in the summer. Plus it would be cool to open eyes in the ocean for longer than 5 seconds. And with pools, it's not an issue of lack of vision, but rather irritation. Make Ask unable to photosynthesize. Feeling hungry? Just take a drink and lay in the sun a bit. Of course the normal ways of gaining energy would still be functional. Food is awesome. As someone already has mentioned, we should have separation of the respiratory systems and eating systems, along with separation of our reproductive organs and waste disposal systems. We should have 2 more arms in the brain to support the fine motorics. That would allow some pretty neat computer interfaces to control 3D objects for a start. Many advanced machines could be more easily operated with more hands. And sex would be awesome. We should also have an extra visual sense in the broader electromagnetic spectrum from gamma to radio, with the ability to tune in on just the right frequency. Need a Wi-Fi network. Well, I see a bright spot of 24 GHz right there. What's the temperature of the pool? Yellow. The ability to drink salt water. Instead of menstruation, the egg simply just slides out. Like one of those fancy gumball machines with the spiral track inside. I feel Japan would make a weird TV show about this. Faster maturation of the prefrontal cortex. Occurring earlier in life. Adolescence would be a little more manageable. Redesign the spine to actually withstand the pull of gravity efficiently. Rebuild the interlock in a logical manner. Redesign the eye to remove the blind spot and reduce structural degradation. Repair the gene that produces vitamin C. Or enable the ability of the body to regenerate limbs. Enable the immune system to be able to recognize and destroy all forms of cancer. Better knees. Wider pelvises for women. Larger fovea and more color depth in eyes. Stronger wider forearms. Add a sagittal crest to skull for stronger jaws. Increase neck thickness for resistance and whiplash and such. Add extra set of horizontal eyelids to blink without losing complete sight of target. Introduce metabolism switch so we can set its speed based on available food and expected upcoming output, i.e. if I'm going to play video games all day, don't metabolize fat. Stronger spine to last longer. And finally keep telomeres from shrinking throughout life to eliminate aging. Edit: I've been informed that coronal ridge is not on a skull. It is in fact the sagittal crest. Not sure why I got that mixed up. How about regenerating cartilage so that your joints never wear out? Edit: and while we're at it, a titanium alloy mesh grafted onto our bones so that they become even stronger. As someone with arthritis before 20, please and thank you. No more dandruff. That should about do it. I'm not an ambitious man. Make teeth regenerative. Duck teeth. Duck. But I'd hate to lose teeth all the time. Stronger, undecayable teeth would be better. Testicle ribcage. First pictured your ribcage made out of your testicles. Then realized you meant a ribcage for your testicles. Like a testiclocage. Perfect the anus. Ghost poops. Every single time. Goddamn skin that can't be sliced by paper. Could you imagine how much surgeries would suck if we had really tough skin? I'd allow skin to be cut by scalpels etc. Just not flimsy paper. I would create separate passages in the throat for eating and breathing. I think it's absurd that we can die by choking on stuff we need to eat every day. Forearms. See all the stuff you can do with 2 arms. Now imagine 4. That's right, everyone is Machamp up in this bitch. Different eyes so that we could see in the dark. We exchanged not being able to choke for speech. Seems like a win. Link. The clitoris can be directly stimulated during intercourse. Better yet, let's have 2 of them. One inside and one outside. Edit: wow, I didn't notice how much attention this got until almost a day later. For anyone who sees this at this point, yes, I'm aware of the G-spot, and if you're a girl, you would know. A G-spot plus an additional internal clit would be awesome. So suck it. For real. Try it. She might like it. I'd make it so that pregnancy wasn't an option. Unless you actively made it one. Like, you had to flip the switch, or do a dance or something. Or both partners had to do some sort of Navi bonding shit before sexy fun times commenced. For everyone freaking out that this is the end of humanity, no, not really. It just means that people can decide when to have kids. I'm not sure why that brings about the end of the population. Plenty of people want kids. Also, the Todakin jokes are really funny. I don't think I've seen every variation. So keep them coming. You mean the female body would just have a way of shutting that whole thing down? I would leave out our wisdom teeth. Acne. No more ducking acne. I've never had bad acne. Just a few zits here or there. But I always have them. I'm 26. Still waiting to grow out of it. Edit: lots of good suggestions in reply to this comment. Here's what I've done already. Wash pillowcases at least weekly. Use salicylic acid face wash. Use benzoyl peroxide face cream. Diet: no fast food. Eat pretty healthy. Exercise 5 days per week. Good general hygiene. It's helped. but not as much as I would like. Farts that smelled really good. Not your own brand good, but fresh pie good or vanilla candle good. No one would hold in their farts. Everywhere would smell nicer overall, and laughter would be more common due to the constant fart sounds. It would be a healthier world full of delicious fart. Strengthen gut muscles and make the spine better at being upright. Because we evolved so quickly from 4 legs to 2 legs, we are prone to messed up backs and hernias. I would make the spinal cord able to heal itself better, so things like paralysis would not be permanent. I'm going with prehensile tails. That would be so useful. Driving, typing, the list just goes on. I'm sure there was a point in our evolution where prehensile tails weren't needed anymore, but I'd like them back please. Sanity checks on emotional processing. Mood swings would trigger our compute with more conservative inputs. Depression would trigger a full reboot. Male multiple orgasms. Redundancy. Having one set of organs failing is no excuse to stop serving the emperor. I would add some method king wings. Like ducking dragon wings and maybe a tail with some barbs on it. Duck yeah. Won't even give a duck about how ugly we would look, because I would be flying over to your mom's house and whipping all sorts of shit with my badass tail. You know what? Forget being a human. Let's just become dragons. Telekinesis. Then I can masturbate with my mind while I eat 2 sandwiches. This is the only thing I've ever wanted. Continually shedding teeth like sharks. Because duck flossing. Voluntary erections. For the love of God. Voluntary erections. Duck that. That takes too much thinking. When is the right moment to get a boner? Too soon and the girl gets weirded out. Too late and it's off-putting. Duck it. Penis does as penis wants. Edit my highest rated post of all time and it's about boners. Well played internet. I would make it that the menstrual cycle was not a thing. Night vision and less need for sweating. Lizard-like regeneration. I think I'd add in bioluminescence. Just imagine having a whole other level of communication. I think we'd all like to separate the urinary and defecation areas from the sensitive reproductive areas, but nobody has good suggestions for that. I would redesign the mouth in a way that would make biting the inside of your lips while eating impossible. That excess fat will not be stored, but released when you poop. Make fat storage much more difficult than building muscle. I responded with a similar answer before I saw yours. Wouldn't it be awesome if carbs worked as a fat burner? You need to lose weight. Here, have a chocolate cake or a big bowl of pasta. Painless testicles. I don't need crippling pain to understand my reproductive organ has been attacked. Get rid of allergies. Most ridiculous thing ever. 1. Increase longevity. Don't have to be immortal, just live longer like some reptiles. Couple of centuries would be perfect I guess. 2. Regenerative teeth. Kinda like sharks and crocs. 3. Better immune system, something like the way sharks can't get cancer. Or was that AIDS? 4. Night vision. 5. Tougher skeleton. Like the Navian avatar. Edit. Apparently sharks do get cancer, and also as Arist0Krat pointed out, AIDS would only occur in humans. Sorry for the misinformation. Separate food hole and air hole. Separate pee hole and sex organ. Coming from a female, the reproductive process. A period every month. Ain't nobody got time for that. And I'm not too keen on the idea of someday pushing a kid through my vag. Edit. Yes, I know women can have C-sections. However, this is still unpleasant major surgery, and virtually no doctor allows a woman to arbitrarily elect to have a C-section. Plus that doesn't solve the whole being pregnant issue. Wouldn't put the waste disposal center next to the amusement park. I've been to Six Flags in New Jersey too. Self-adjusting metabolism. At will ovulations. Photographic memory. Adjustable nervous system feedback. Intensify pleasure. Turn off pain receptors. At will erections. Periods. We should just get a text message saying you're not pregnant. Congrats. No more periods. lesser pubic hair, and no ass hair. I would make it so that breathing does not rely on the same part of the body as swallowing food. Bah. I keep seeing this one on here. Apes, like chimpanzees, cannot breathe from their mouth, only their nose. We evolved the ability to breathe through our mouth to help us speak and also to help us breathe when long distance running. Apes cannot choke like we can. But mouth breathing was obviously so beneficial to humans that it's one of our defining characteristics when compared with apes. C-section is a human vocal apparatus essential for speech. Link. Food that tastes good is also good for you. Edit bacon likely has no place in a healthy diet. That is ducking bullshit. Red meat is not so good either. It tastes good enough to eat every day. Duck that. Ice cream is full of sugar and an immoderate amount of fat. I'd eat some every day if it were healthy, but it's not. Nice crackly loaf of white bread and some cheddar for lunch, with a few carrot sticks. Yes please. I'll wash it down with a quart of Pilsner. But no, it would be more healthy to eat 2 cups of broccoli instead. I like vegetables, but wish you only needed a cup a day. It is. From a survival aspect, fat has a much higher calorie density than other sources of energy, 9 gram versus 4 gram. When it comes to survival, calories take priority over nutrition. Thus foods that provide the greatest caloric impact and most energy to the body, fats, easily digested carbohydrates, etc. also tend to taste the best because it encourages us to eat those things. Obesity comes from having developed a society where physical exertion has become optional rather than a necessity, and we have an abundance of food. Every guy gets the same size dick. There would be no more war and less junk males, or perhaps more males. We know exactly how big you are and that's not big enough. Take our magic pills and be a quarter of an inch longer than everyone you know. I'd give it a hyperalloy combat chassis, living tissue over a metal endoskeleton. I would make intelligence directly correlates to libido. That, and if you are abusive or violent, your libido drops to 0 for several years. Couple of generations down the road, so many problems would be solved. Edit for clarification. I'm referring to rapists, domestic violence, and other such deplorable things when I say abuse and violence. A toss-up between having testicles on the inside of the body and having us lay eggs instead of give birth. The bits that men need to reproduce are on the outside where they are most vulnerable to damage, and women can die during labor. Who the heck thought that one up? Edit before anyone else decides to tell me. I know why the testes are where they are. Just for your peace of mind, we'll add a fan as well to keep them nice and cool. A couple things. 1. I'd make the respiratory system completely separate from the gastrointestinal system, i.e. I'd have the 2 main bronchi surface on something akin to gills on either side of the neck, while retaining the mouth purely for eating and drinking, thereby getting rid of aspiration of food and other foreign objects into the lungs. 2. I'd combine the excretion systems, the GI tract and the urinary tract, and place them far away from reproductive system, getting rid of urinary tract infections and other nastiness. Also, if the kidneys emptied right into the bowels and didn't have to traverse a long course to the urinary bladder, it might decrease the incidence of kidney stones. 3. I'd enlarge the opening of the maxillary and frontal sinuses and have another opening to the middle ear to make upper respiratory infections more tolerable and to do away with dysbaric injuries of the tympanic membrane. 4. I'd make cartilaginous suture lines amongst the various bones forming your skull as a sort of relief valve to make brain herniation less likely. 5. I'd make openings along the pericardium to guard against pericardial tamponade. 6. I'd also make natural openings throughout the compartments of the arms and legs to guard against compartment syndrome. 7. I'd have the course of the iliac arteries and veins go more internally in the pelvis, so there wouldn't be so much exsanguination with pelvic fractures. 8. I'd route the carotid artery and jugular veins more internally and more shielded by larger sternocleidomastoid and platysma muscles. 9. I'd do away with the omentum, which might well be a contributing cause of metabolic syndrome. Okay, I'm going to assume curing all known genetic diseases is a given. Fix the gene for L-guanine lactone oxidase so we can synthesize vitamin C. Add the gene for producing cellulase, so we can digest cellulose. Get back to work. Reverse knee joint. Extra padding around joints. Shorter limbs. Bigger ears. Thicker bones. Extra valves in leg veins. Interesting source link. Make it so our eating tube and breathing tube aren't connected, preventing choking completely. Also, a prehensile tail would be nice. Separate holes for breathing and eating. Nobody should ever have to choke to death. Sexual organs that aren't located directly in the middle of a waste management center. I would remove our need for sleep. If we were awake 8 more hours a day, we could be so productive. On-off switches for children until they're 5. The classic answer is the civil engineer's answer, who puts a playground next to a sewage treatment plant. Make us permanently regenerative. Regrow teeth. Regrow hair. Limbs. Everything. And no finite lifespan either. And also prevent senility. Sugar works as fat burner. Most of the design problems with the human body are a result of minor modifications tinkering over time with no major overhauls, that is evolution. If the human body was designed from the ground up, things would look very different. This makes the whole creationism thinking of ridiculous just on face value. No engineer would ever design the human body like it is. For example, most joints could be modified to remove and combine a lot of extraneous muscles, which would strengthen the joints. The spine needs to be modified to eliminate the stress concentration on the lower back, and to strengthen discs to eliminate herniated discs. There are many more that a doctor could elaborate on. I'm just an engineer.